Moving on, a high-flying corporate executive, a former private schoolgirl and a personal trainer. They all have one thing in common, and that's ice. Tonight, we go inside the world of this insidious drug, from the people that make it to those who take it, and find out if there's any way to escape its very tight grip.
Ice. It's a drug that doesn't discriminate.
I would usually party hard for 6 or 7 days on this drug and then collapse for 6.
It was like my head was just more and more and more. How big a rush can I get? And I became an animal.
I went into psychosis, paranoia, hallucinations and, ended up in hospital in a psych ward, and none of that stopped me from using.
For Susan, a bubbly and smart former private school student, it was the feeling of not being good enough that led her to using.
I was using it on the weekends for, I'd tell you, probably a couple of weeks. And then I started using it by myself at nights. Within weeks, I was using it every single day. I just felt really invincible all the time when I used it. I became aggressive. I didn't drink water or eat for days.
50-year-old Matthew was earning a 6-figure salary and travelling the world when he became hooked.
I can look back now and know I was addicted from the very first time I tried it. I could get it within about 15 minutes to half an hour when I wanted to get it, and it would be delivered.
Setting ice apart is just how addictive it is. Professor John Curry, an addiction specialist, argues it's actually a brain disease.
The brain takes over and it says, I want it, I need it, I have to have it, and if I don't get it, I feel dreadful.
I became powerless over it, like I had literally no choice. I wanted to stop. I tried to stop on my own, but I couldn't stop.
And feeding Australia's out-of-control demand for the drug, an army of meth cooks, often addicts themselves.
We'd just set up in the sheds or old dairies. I was just jumping from hotels to hotels. I've sat at home and cooked in my cupboard while my sister was out looking after her young daughter.
The turning point for Bill was a court order requiring a long stint in rehab.
I rocked up at the detox still using with a busted up car out front, drugs and needles falling out of my pockets, just started taking my clothes off and just refused to leave.
But unlike drugs such as heroin, there is no approved medical treatment for addicts.
The sad fact is that probably only about 25% of people at the most will be particularly helped with psychological treatment.
But some say a range of existing medications can be used in new ways to help get addicts clean.
You're looking at 50, 60% success rates for getting people off when you use a combination of medication plus counselling.
Counsellor and former addict Stu Fenton says one of the biggest barriers to recovery is the social stigma attached to addiction.
The answer to the problem is people feeling safe to go, I've got a problem and I need help. Sensationalising the craziness of ice takes hope away from people, and hope is so important.
Matthew, Susan and Bill are each at different stages of their recovery, thanks to intensive rehab and ongoing support programs.
Life's good, but it's scary because it's I'm going into unknown territory at 50 years old.
My life today is amazing. I've got my family back in my life. I've got a really beautiful boyfriend, and I have a job.
I've actually got people that kind of believe in me,
There is a way out of addiction to crystal methamphetamine. You can't do this on your own. That's the message.
It's actually a very wonderful and important story to get that rare access and insight from users of this drug, because it's not just a fringe drug anymore, it's an enormous societal problem. You heard there, 25% of cases, it just shows how impervious it is to treatment.
Well, you talk about AMBOs and people who work in ER rooms, and this drug is absolutely causing havoc in those places.
Well, if you or anyone you know needs any help at all for ice addiction, head to our website for a range of support services and a lot of information there as well.